Hey everyone, it's Bobby Ferguson here. I wanted to get on here real quick and talk about how to make tempo maps for your songs. Tempo map is just a MIDI file, a super small file that contains information about your BPM, any time signature changes, and markers, MIDI. It really is like a super tiny file that has a ton of info, and I really love to use them. So I have a song right here. So this part is in 13/4, and there's like a ton of time signature changes. I guess there aren't any tempo changes, but if there were, we could still work with that. So to make the tempo map, all I'm going to do is make a MIDI track, and I usually just call it for tempo map. And I will kind of make a note of like how many bars are in the session. So like this song is over by bar maybe 69, everyone's favorite number. I'm going to come into this MIDI track and make a super long MIDI note. Doesn't matter what note actually, but I just like to kind of stay organized. So C3, I'm going to make it as long as the song is, or somewhere around there. So now we have a MIDI note going the entire song. I don't even think you have to select anything. I'm pretty sure you can just export MIDI file, and I'll do single track, or I'll do multi-track. You can kind of play with these settings and just, okay, I'll call it for tutorial. And then I'm also going to make a wave bounce of this session. It's pretty important that it starts on bar 1. Cool. Okay, our bounce is done. Let's open up another DAW to see if it worked. I've got Logic open. Let's bring in my bounce. And this is actually where people get tripped up, is I already skipped a step. What I have to do is close the session. I have to have nothing open in Logic, and I actually have to go File, Open my MIDI file. Open, and check this out. It brought in our BPM, our markers, our time signatures. It also brought in all that MIDI that was frozen. So now, if I bring in my wave file, we've got our 2 bars of pre-roll. Cool, our tempo map worked. All right, Ableton, we're gonna try the same thing. Say I wanted to play the song live, but I wanted to be using like the Ableton click as opposed to using a printed audio click. I like to bring in the tempo map first. Let's just put it at bar 1. This pop-up is most likely gonna show import tempo and time signature information. Obviously I wanna say yes. It worked. The only weird thing here is that it doesn't bring the markers in, which kind of sucks. Not sure why that is, but sometimes you gotta go back in manually and make your own markers. So here's our song. That's cool, so we could like warp it, and we could literally just change the BPM. So yeah, that's how you import the tempo map in Ableton. By the way, if you didn't get that pop-up, you might have to go into your preferences, go into this first tab, and restore the don't show again warnings. So that is pretty much that. Super helpful for collaborating on the song, working on the same song within multiple different DAWs. Super helpful. By the way, you could also import this into a notation program. I'll show you that next. So here we are in Dorico. I'm going to open our import file. Let's find our MIDI file. Bam. So this is kind of cool. Like Dorico's gonna try to map each part of the MIDI file to different staves. Can be cool. For now, I'll just keep it all as a default. And you can see it got our first BPM right. If you were gonna do this for real, you would clean up the MIDI in the DAW session first, like maybe have like only a few tracks of MIDI. Because Pro Tools, when you export the MIDI, it's gonna try to export everything, even hidden tracks maybe. So I would always try to like clean it up. The important thing is all this, like these markers and the meter changes. You can see it got all of that, which is so dope. This is all unquantized MIDI, which is why the rhythms look crazy. By the way, exporting a MIDI tempo map out of a different DAW Same process, just make a long MIDI note and then export MIDI. I have not been able to figure out how to do it out of Ableton, sadly, but Cubase, Logic seem to all do it the same as Pro Tools, so that's great. Check out my band, Chronologue. We put out this record, Wide Angle, this year. The song I was using as a demo is the last track, So yeah, okay, see you guys later, bye.